Hey everyone, Kevin Frost here again. A little coffee with Kevin. This is something new. A little while ago, I sat down with my CEO, my business partner, Melissa Bouchard, and we recorded some sessions. This one speaks to our beginnings. It was nice to take some time and reflect and look back after being in business for 6 years, going back to the beginning and reliving how we started this company. So sit back, enjoy it. It's called Coffee with Kevin, Coffee Connects, fully caffeinated. That's what I came up with so far. That's the working title. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. It's a good conversation between Melissa and I about how we started Fusion 3, and there'll be more to come. There'll be some discussions about our growth and also just some discussions about some implementations with ServiceNow. So again, thanks as always. Always appreciate your support for Coffee with Kevin. Stay caffeinated out there. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and watch. Thank you. This is the next evolution of Coffee with Kevin. So I've had Coffee with Kevin. I've had Coffee Connects. Now we're going to take this to the next level. And we got in person. I got my business partner, Melissa Bouchard, here, also my CEO. We're going to start talking about some topics, and we'll see how this goes. This is going to be new for me because I'm actually not just talking to a camera. I actually get to talk to a person live. This will make the podcast a lot easier. When you're talking to a camera by yourself, it's really, really a weird feeling. So we've been talking about this forever. Talking about getting together, recording something like this. It's awkward. I know that, but
just a little.
But the thing about it is that, just throwing yourself out there. And I've had so much cool response from throwing myself out there. I mean, when I go to conferences and people refer to me as a Coffee with Kevin guy, I mean, that's just kind of cool. So I'm glad we got to do this now. And it's weird because we're actually doing it. We've been talking about it for years.
Well, I think what's really weird is we work together every day, but we're never in person. So just the fact that I'm sitting here next to you is just like a little bit odd. I'm not going to lie. This is just strange.
Exactly. Sitting in the same room is not as common as people might think. Like, well, you guys talk all the day, every day. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, on Teams, faceless,
right.
No video.
right. So a lot of people do know our story, but I think our story is really cool, so I want to go into it now that we're in person. We can talk about it.
All right.
Especially because I refer to our origins as basically just three idiots with laptops.
It's fair.
Right.
Very fair. Very old laptops, mind you.
But we started, in 2019, right? And we had been working together, and we liked working together enough that we thought it'd be a good idea to step out and start our own business together. Do you still think that was a good idea?
I think, yes, it definitely was a good idea. It's been a ton of fun. I think we've all learned quite a bit. And I think if you backtrack a little bit before we actually even started in 2019, there was the lead up in all of 2018. So
yes.
One of my favorite anecdotes is probably that we were the best thing to come out of the Carousel Atreon acquisition. For those in Rhode Island, you're probably very familiar with that acquisition. If you're outside the state, who cares? You probably have no idea what we're talking about. But two local tech giants kind of coming together that were probably as culturally
different,
completely opposite as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
I know most people didn't get along, and somehow the three of us
we found a way to get along.
So much so that we decided to start Fusion 3. So I always feel like that's kind of part of the fun story.
Yeah. I remember we're going to mention another local restaurant, but it's at Back 40. We were sitting in the back having lunch, maybe a couple cocktails, and talking about starting a business. Right. And stepping out and taking what we learned working together and seeing if it felt like there was a market for it. And we said, and it took us a year to go from that to actually stepping away and starting that.
Well, I mean, let's think about this for just a second. What really happened is, how things happen in corporate America. We've been talking about it. Typical work shenanigans, corporate America. I remember coming back to our work area and I was like, guys, are we doing this or not? Because I'm leaving in 2 months. I just put in my notice. And I feel I think you and Ian turned white as ghosts, like, oh, we're serious about this. And I was like, yeah, it's either Fusion 3 or doing something else. Like, I don't know. Like, let's figure this out. So it was really cool, though, when you look back that everything worked out that way.
Yeah.
Like there's, one change, one different decision, the whole trajectory could be completely different. And we're not having this conversation. We're not in business since 2019.
Right.
We're not doing service now. I mean, who knows? So it's really kind of ironic, I think, when you have a little bit of a period of time to look back on. So I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah. And how about, I mean, in Rhode Island, people either think we're an island off the coast of New York or they know us as the smallest state, and we are probably smaller than some counties in most other states. What was it like, and especially because I'm asking you these questions and people are like, well, you're a partner, Kevin, you should probably know this. No, Melissa really did a lot of the work in the getting the business off the ground. And then Ian and I kind of joined in. We wanted to see if it would actually fly, and then we joined in. So talk about that a little bit, doing it in a small state like Rhode Island, and also, some of the challenges, but also some of the positives as far as, hey, yeah, we are a tech company in one of these small states. We're not in Silicon Valley. We're not in Boston. We're not,
Yeah, I think there was a couple of different things. I know Rhode Island does, for a litany of reasons, sometimes get bad press in terms of our economic status. I can't deny, some of the tax rates and things like that. However, I will say some of the positives would be around a lot of resources. And I think the resources are just buried. You don't really know that they're available to you. The SBA was fantastic. If folks don't know what that is, it's a Small Business Administration. You basically get a free seasoned business consultant that works with you to help you with your business plan. They connect you with local attorneys or CPAs, or they'll just audit your business plan. Whatever it is that you need, you have someone that's in the state volunteering their time, helping you, making sure that, you have your shit together, basically. So that's super helpful. And when you're just starting out, you likely don't have, a ton of money or investment. I think we're also in a unique situation with just the business that we're in. I think there's a lot more to be said when you need a physical location. I think when you have inventory, when you're dealing with logistics and suppliers, I think when you have to hire a lot of people right out of the gate, that can be a lot of not only upfront cost, I think there's a steeper learning curve. There's a lot of different licenses.
Right.
I think, to your point, 3 idiots with the laptops, that makes things just slightly easier.
Right.
That, the way that we started was just the 3 of us. We were all owners, so we were owner operated. There's a lot of legalities that didn't necessarily apply to us because of our size. So I think all of those things put together, and let's be honest, we were being kind of cheap.
Right.
We decided to not get any office space. Like, how can we start this thing as cheap as possible? We're going to use our own laptops. We're not going to have an office. All of these things. So talk to us later if you want to know how to start a business on the cheap and not have to have a huge investment. But I think a lot of those things also lend itself for us having a good experience versus maybe what some other local business owners would say is a negative experience trying to start a business in Rhode Island.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I think, we definitely didn't have any overhead. We still don't have any overhead. Hence why we're in the studio. This is not all of a sudden we got office space, but
Nope.
we found a great company, great local that actually rents podcast studios. So Conversations, we're here at Conversations. I want to throw that out there. I want to mention them. Awesome thing. It's really, I'm geeking out because of all the technology in here, but I won't focus on all the mics and cameras at the moment. I think the piece about starting it the way we did in Rhode Island, and we bootstrapped it, and now we're 6 years later, right?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought, right? And I it's a testament to your leadership for sure, and and guiding us through a lot. And if we look at it, and if people caught on with the year that we mentioned of 2019 when we started, what happened the year after that? Boom, right into a global pandemic, right? How did we navigate that? Like people are shocked that we made it through that.
Yeah, I think that's a valid question. And as much as I would love to say it's all this strategic planning and astute leadership, I don't really think that's the case. I do think there was, a stroke of luck. And the fact that we didn't have infrastructure, just in terms of physical office space, we didn't have a major transition plan, which would have served for a lot of small businesses as a big disruption.
Right.
Do I even have a plan? And then if I have a plan, how accurate is my plan? All those things that go with, continuity, and in this case, continuity of business. For us, nothing really changed. It was business as usual. Customers just didn't want us on site, which I think honestly has now been a trend ever since. It's like,
right.
I don't have to pay for you to come here. Great. Just talk to me over Zoom.
Yeah.
It's, much cheaper. So I think that there was a bit of luck when it came, honestly, to the pandemic and us specifically. And I think a lot of local businesses were just hit hard because of all the regulations and then how often they were changing and trying to keep up with those.
Right.
And we just really didn't have to even concern ourselves, at least from a business standpoint,
Sure.
with those types of things.
Sure.
So I'll call that luck more than anything else.
It's honest. It's honest.
Yeah.
And I think it does take a certain degree of luck, stepping out, starting a business. And there's definitely some luck involved in timing, call it whatever it is. But I agree. I think, and I think some of the things that we focused on, we just happened to land in the right spot at the right time with all of that. And we just kind of, we're already remote. We weren't scrambling to find remote off, send laptops out to a whole bunch of people or anything. We could just keep business as usual almost.
Exactly, 100%. And I think for us also, it was just, again, timing that you can't plan. We got to go to our first ServiceNow Knowledge Conference together as Fusion3, had the opportunity to just network, make some meaningful connections, which helped us start momentum for the business. I think if we would have started in 2020 and not had that opportunity to be in person, I think also just absorb, let's just be honest, the awe of a ServiceNow conference. It's one of the largest conferences I've ever been to. They definitely don't hold back. It's super fun. It's high energy. So I think, we started in I started in January. Then you came in February. Ian came in March in 2019. Yep. You look really quickly. May is upon us. Here we are in knowledge, the three geeks with laptops going, hey, we're going to be this company and be at the ServiceNow conference. This is great. So I really think that was also just timing. We happened to start in 2019. We had that momentum going. And then we didn't really lose momentum because we were already remote heading into the pandemic in 2020. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think we were able to, when we stepped out, we were able to contract right back to our previous employer, which was kind of cool.
I'm kind of glancing over that part of the story. That really could have been a whole segment in and of itself.
But that worked out well, and then springing into the knowledge conference, which we'll touch on in another topic. But I agree. I think the momentum really carried us through, and it actually almost accelerated us through that whole pandemic. How we were working there. Some of the other cool things about Rhode Island is the recognition, right? So not only did we start a company, and now it's woman owned, by the way, if people didn't know that. I have ultimate respect from that standpoint. I think women owned businesses don't get enough exposure, don't get enough press. I think that's just amazing from that standpoint. I'm a huge supporter of that. But not only that, but you've gotten some recognition, and you probably don't. Well, maybe you do like toot your own horn. I don't know. Maybe your ego is like that. But we've had a couple of situations where we've gotten to honor you in Rhode Island. So there was a 40 under 40.
Yeah.
There was
just snuck right in.
Snuck right in.
I slid right in.
39.9. And then the Who to Watch in Rhode Island. So I think Rhode Island does a pretty good job of promoting.
I think so. And the other honorable mention I'll say is the 10,000 Small Business Goldman Sachs program. So we're one of few states. I mean, there are definitely more than just Rhode Island, but we're one of few states that have an in-person program. And I love the fact that Goldman Sachs and that program partners with the Community College of Rhode Island. I'm a little biased. I decided to go to school. I stayed in the state. I did it in what I would call a very cost-effective way. This was before CCRI was free to folks that were in the state.
Right.
So I went to CCRI first, try to save on some money. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So it was kind of nice to, come full circle. And all of
right.
a sudden I'm back in CCRI. It looked exactly the same. And then I had the opportunity to meet all of these different entrepreneurs that were doing amazing things in the state that, to be honest, I had no idea about. So much about sustainability, that I thought was awesome. You had a lot of folks that were in restaurants, that were in wellness-focused businesses, just a whole plethora of different kinds of businesses of varying sizes with entrepreneurs of all ages. So I just thought that was really cool and wanted to mention that, because when we talk about some of the challenges in the state, there's also a lot of positives that I don't think get enough high-level press anyway.
Yes. No, agreed. And you'll see that, if you go out and follow Melissa on LinkedIn or anything like that, you'll see those posts out there and see the links to those other companies. And they are impressive, what they're doing and how they're, and again, I just come back to, we're such a small state, but we're so powerful. There's so much going on.
There really is.
And I think, speaking to that speaks to a lot of the people, right? So one of the last kind of bits on this is that, we started in 2019. We're talking about, we've been in business for 6 years. We're making money. We're not, we're
I'm not retired yet.
We're not retired yet, but we're making money. We're doing business with some very large companies.
Yes.
We definitely feel like we get imposter syndrome sometimes. I still feel like I get it. I definitely had it when we first started and talking. I still get it. But I think one of the successes is the people that we've built into the company, right? Because I think, speaking to all the people you just mentioned as far as the different companies Rhode Island, one of the reasons we're successful, I feel, is because of who we are as people, right? As human beings. And people do business with people, right? When it comes right down to it, people do business with people. Yes, you're gonna go out and look for an organization like, Conversations here, for instance, right? I looked them up; they look cool. But then I met the owners and stuff, and it's just like, I want to work with these guys. Okay,
how can I find a way?
Right, this is amazing. Let's just do this. So I think that also lends itself, and I don't want to gloss over that, where it's not just expertise or technical know-how or brilliance. There is a personality factor to it, and the soft skills and things like that to be developed.
I would agree. I think a lot of it, what's ironic is it's that perfect blend. I think some of what the imposter syndrome can lend itself to is authenticity.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of big name clients have related to over the years. It's not that grandiose smoke and mirrors that, hey, right. I know everything about everything. It's like, listen, this is what makes sense. This is my experience. These are the things that I think we should explore a little bit further. And I think, not going in with that, I always want to call it a level of arrogance like that, which is the complete opposite of the imposter syndrome. You certainly want to be mindful, about not letting it impact certain things. But I think for the most part, it shows through as authenticity. And that's what a lot of the clients see. And I think that's what they respect and what they appreciate. And there's honesty in that also, where that's a really bad idea. And these are the reasons why it's a really bad idea, and I think that's what they respect. And that's why, I will do a little plug into of our own horn, which is
absolutely
for how small we are, that we were three geeks with laptops. The majority of our clients, we probably have about a 90% client retention rate. And these are large national, international companies that are hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue, that are working with, what started as humble beginnings, in the she shed.
Right, shed along the side of the house.
Yeah, exactly.
With a desk that we all helped put together. And
had some office chairs in there, really close quarter initial meeting. So I think that's just a really cool story. And when you think about, business and small business and how do you get, your information out there, it's all about storytelling. So I do think that we have, a great story about, just three people that liked working together. We were geeking out over ServiceNow. We saw this huge potential. We wanted it to work within the company we were in. They had other plans. Now it all makes sense.
Yes.
So we decided to branch out to say, give this a whirl. Like, we're really interested in this. We think we work well together. And, the rest is kind of history, and we can add other color to that story depending on who we're talking to. But I think that resonates to a lot of people. And as much as there's that sheer size and volume for certain things, I think because we're in a specialty area, that authenticity in that story makes a huge difference in building trust a bit faster, because clients know we care. We're owner operated. It makes a big difference if a project does not go well, if they're not feeling good about what we've implemented. They know they call us. They all call or text me on my cell phone about, whether their kids graduated or like, hey, we're having this user experience issue. We know we haven't worked with you in a year. And I pick up. And just like I'm sure you pick up and respond. And
absolutely.
I think that's some of the differentiator. And I think that's kind of cool because we're a small business in the smallest state in the US. It's just kind of it's kind of a cool story to talk a little bit about.
It is. I agree. I think it's fun to, and living in it day to day, I think we kind of get lost from that.
You forget.
Right? You forget. and this is kind of bringing it all back. And I think that, it really is like that whole she shed time frame is like, now I'm picturing every detail, but that's just something that fades into the background, right? But that was, I remember, going, I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing. We're putting together, and then we're having conference calls in there, and we're all gathered in this 8x10 shed, But that was such a cool time, and it's still a fun ride. It's just, you forget about those kind of beginnings, and just reliving that is just, it's pretty cool. And I think that, speaking to the authenticity and the honesty, I've been in situations with some of our long-term clients where they say, hey, what do you know about this? And I tell them absolutely nothing. All right.
Exactly.
But I'm going to go learn about it and I'll get back to you. Right. And they actually are okay with that because they would rather be working with the known quantity. They know what they're going to get back is going to be honest. If it's not going to work, I'm not going to come back and just say, yeah, it's that best thing since sliced bread. But if it works, let's go for it and let's figure it out together. And that's been some really cool from my standpoint, because I'm just learning constant stuff new all the time. So,
which is huge. I mean, let's be honest, technology.
Yes.
This is what we do for a job, and we can't keep up.
We can't keep up. Never mind anyone else.
Trying to, keep pace. It's just, it's a wild time to be in technology, between all the business challenges that are trying to be solved with the introduction of AI and automation, and machine learning. There's a lot to unpack and to try to focus on. So
there is.
Yeah, it's a great time to be in the space that we're in. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, it's cool talking about, finally doing this one, right? Getting in front of some microphones and some cameras. We got 3 cameras going. We got 2 microphones going. But to finally be doing this and saying so many times we're just like, oh man, I just wish we recorded our conversation because that was really cool banter. Right. And people are going to get certain things from it. Some people are going to be like, nope, I'm not watching this anymore. They're going to hit, but hey, that's the world, right? Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff out there. But I think what we're also trying to do, and what I want to try and do with this, and what I always try and do with my individual, kind of coffee with Kevin, is just throw something authentic out there, right? People like it, people don't like it. I don't care. But when you, all of a sudden somebody rings true with somebody, it's a huge connection point, and it's a lot of fun. So it's been cool reliving our origin story. And also, for anyone, who's watching this that may be in Rhode Island, because I come across people who either work for ServiceNow or have worked for ServiceNow or worked with ServiceNow in Rhode Island all the time. And it's just like, there's no maybe we need to start that. Maybe we need to start like a central Rhode Island users group or something.
We need a snug and office spot. Maybe it's time.
Because they got Boston covered, they got New York covered, but like Connecticut and Rhode Island are kind of out on their own. So, but it's been cool doing that. So I think we'll go into some other topics on these next conversations. But for right now, we're going to wrap that one up. That was us. That was Fusion3 in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think with that,
let's
coffee cheers.
Yeah, we'll do a little coffee cheers and stay caffeinated out there, everybody.